we're going to go to the wide receiver position now for the Chiefs fits day 1, 2, and 3 of this draft. And I know wide receiver is the one that like a lot of people are paying attention to. Our day 1 fit at wide receiver. Matthew, you want the honors?
Of course. It is wide receiver 1, Jordan Addison out of USC and Pittsburgh. He's played at both. So I think we're going Pittsburgh because that's where these highlights are coming from. I love Jordan Addison. Every time I watch, I like him a little bit more. I think if you just watch USC, you see a very technical route runner that does everything that I think you really like. You really like Jordan Addison at USC, right? But when you go back and watch him at Pittsburgh, you see a guy put constantly in the position to be his team's essentially sole playmaker because it's Pittsburgh, and it works. I mean, this man got Kenny Pickett drafted in the first round. Like, I think that's all you need to know. But we're talking about, I mean, the elite of the elite separator versus man versus zone over the middle of the field, from the slot, outside. Like, anytime you just want a guy to separate, he is the guy that can do that in this class. So if you're looking at the Chiefs wide receiver room and trying to pick out what they're missing somebody that's reliable, that can just constantly get open, pick up first downs. And I mean, Addison does that better than anybody else versus zone and man coverage for my money.
Absolutely. He is an incredible wide receiver. The polish is going to make him play day 1. Like, he's going to fit right into this offense in a lot of different spots, run a lot of different routes, and he's going to do it really well. He gives you a reliable, secure option for Patrick Mahomes opposite of Travis Kelce. And that's exactly what this team needs. It raises the floor, and he's still got plenty of ceiling there. Yes, the people are going to point to the fact that he's a lighter prospect. He's not got a ton of mass on his frame. Who knows if that's going to translate to the NFL, if he's going to result in him being a little more hurt. But the NFL has taken more stabs on those lighter types of receivers lately, and it has worked out for the NFL. So I do think that maybe we're migrating past that a little bit. After that, you have questions maybe about his long speed, his ability to translate and, really press a cornerback vertically. But what he does so well underneath doesn't require that for him. His head fakes, his shoulder movements, the way that he can, cadence his footwork is really, truly elite. And I think that, yes, he's going to be below some of the other prospects, the really high-end prospects in previous drafts. But because it is such a bad wide receiver class, if the NFL lets this guy fall to the Chiefs, he's got the potential to be a 1,000-yard receiver, even in his rookie season. I truly believe that, just because he is that good at creating separation and he's that good with the ball in his hands. I would love to have Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison's a guy I kind of just slowly fell in love with. And I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. He'd probably be a my guy by now at this point in the process. Like, I've just slowly grown on him more and more. I think so. We're talking about, downfield ability and some of the long speed. I remember a former Chief named Demarcus Robinson, and the best route he ran was a post corner post, and he was very, very good at it. And great at it. Like, the most elite post corner post route runner of all time. Some are saying, some are me. Jordan Addison, like, he's that kind of fluid, loose route runner where he could run a post corner post better than anybody. And he's shown some downfield routes, some double moves, and being able to sell some of those things where, yes, obviously you'd like to see the long speed be a little bit better, and you'd like to see the athleticism, be a little bit better than what it is. But I mean, this guy's such a loose route runner, and he's so good at all 3 levels running routes. And surprisingly, for being as light as he is, he's pretty strong at the top of his routes relative to some of the guys that are his size, like a Tank Dell. I think he's stronger than Tank Dell at the top of his route. So, I mean, there's ways to, justify maybe taking a guy that's a little bit lighter, because I think he does so many other things well. And I think he's a good football player. I'd be absolutely thrilled if he's the pick at 31. Absolutely thrilled.
Wait, the reason I fully buy into him over some of the other guys, I think a lot of Chiefs fans are going to like Quentin Johnston because of the size, but I think you're still lacking the consistency element. The Chiefs have inconsistent wide receivers already. They have guys that you don't trust to be open on any given play already. Some people are going to like Jackson Smith and Jigba's ability. He put up crazy numbers at Ohio State. And I don't want to say that he would be a bad fit, but if you're going to tell me that you want a guy that can play inside or outside, beat man coverage or zone coverage equally, I've seen Addison do it in 2 different offensive systems. I've only seen JSN do it one time as part of an elite offense with a bunch of other guys around him taking a lot of attention. It's just Addison checks every box besides the weight. If it wasn't for his weight, if you added 10 more pounds on him, I don't think there would be any questions. To your point, 4.49 isn't slow. People just for some reason thought he was going to run into 4.3s. So we decided that 4.49 was too slow. He has no issues getting vertical. Now it does take a double move. He doesn't run by guys, but he throws a double move out. He easily stacks corners, and his ball tracking skills are absolutely top tier. I mean, top tier, and he doesn't let a defensive back. He doesn't let a corner distract him, doesn't let him push him out of the catch point. So yeah, he might not run by guys, but he can still be a vertical threat based on all those things. Just, I think we kind of got tired of talking Jordan Addison throughout this process. We found out that he weighed 173 pounds and didn't run a 4.3, and we decided to be a little bit hypercritical of it this entire time.
All right, let's move on to the day 2 fits. And this is a guy that I think, Craig, you did. Is this the one that you watched with Matthew as well? And you kind of came away just big time enamored with. It's Jonathan Mingo out of Ole Miss is the day 2 fit for the Kansas City Chiefs, Craig.
He's a bully, really physical wide receiver, loves to just, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that you can slot in and play, as a run blocker on the outside, which is what the Chiefs went and got a ton of last year and tried to use them, to bounce things to the outside. Jonathan Mingo is willing, just more than willing, is going to shove guys completely out of the play. Fantastic run blocker, but also is a pretty decent route runner. He's got a lot of room to grow in that regard, but a bigger player, does really kind of play, doesn't attack the ball in the same way that you would like, but these are all things that are going to be able to be fixed. He's a really good athlete. I get real strong A.J. Brown vibes, who the Chiefs tried to trade for last year. I think that he fits in as an X receiver in this offense. I think that he's got a good potential, maybe not to play a ton in year 1, which, I mean, if you're talking about a day 2 wide receiver, there's not a ton of those guys, especially in this class. It doesn't have a ton of depth in it that you're going to look at and say, okay, they are going to be day 1 contributors. They're going to play a lot in the rookie year. I just look at his ceiling and I look at his growth path, and I see a guy that not only fits really well in this offense with what they want to do, but also offers a little bit higher ceiling and an ability to kind of slot in year 2, year 3. That's definitely a future move. But again, in day 2, you're making future moves anyway. Go get me a guy with that athletic profile that can also be physical and play the way that you got guys in the room already.
And so Mingo's an entirely different type of wide receiver than what we just talked about with Jordan Addison, right? So like we're sitting
50
here
pounds.
we're talking about best fits, right? And we're saying, okay, Addison's a great fit because he creates the separation, because he's reliable, because he attacks all 3 levels, so on and so forth. And so how does Mingo then fit in as the best fit for the next round, right? Assuming he's the exact polar opposite. He's a little bit less consistent right now. He's not really doing much on the intermediate part of the field. It's kind of now balls or deep shots. But I think what you look at is you look at the Chiefs offense and how it functions, right? Juju Smith-Schuster really did 2 big things for the Chiefs last year. And I think it gets undersold. He was not only their possession guy, the guy that reliably got open when Travis Kelce wasn't able to do it. He was also the guy that went across the middle of the field and had to do all the physical stuff. Addison was accomplishing part 1, the separator, the guy that's consistently getting open. Mingo does the second part. He's the guy that would be working over the middle of the field, doing a lot of the dirty work. You're not really going to find a guy that's able to do both in this draft class. So Mingo kind of fulfills that role. And to Craig's point, you hope he grows. You hope the footwork that he flashes, you can coach it up and get it to be consistent. You hope that you get him to use his hands a little bit more throughout his route stem so that he creates the separation that a 220-pound wide receiver with his explosive ability should be able to create. So yeah, it's a little bit bigger of a swing. There's a lot lower of a floor here with Mingo. Not that he'd be bad. He can definitely go block and be a middle of the field target that's big and physical, but you don't have that same high floor, but you maybe have a little bit higher ceiling just because of the overall physical profile.
And yeah, he's not devoid of ability off the top either. And it's like you can put the ball in his hands, and watching him with the ball in his hands is terrifying. Like you forget sometimes that he's 220 pounds. That's an asset in and of itself, being able to move, run a 4.46 at 220 pounds with the ball in your hands. That's a trait right there. I actually came away a little bit more like I watched him run this little seam 7 route, a little inside stem out route. I came away, I was like, okay, there's some more in there as he continues to develop. We saw some of the reps that he had at the Senior Bowl. Like, there's some things to work with, and like, you can't coach 6'2", 220. Like, that's a unique frame to build off of, and a really strong athletic profile. So he's an intriguing day 2 fit for sure. Day 3, we struggled.
Oh, we didn't struggle. I love this pick.
Go for it.
Kayshon Boutte. It's pronounced Booty, apparently. I thought it was Butte. It is not. It's Booty. It is Kayshon Boutte out of LSU, one of the absolute worst athletes you were going to find at the wide receiver position in all of combine history. But goodness gracious, watch him play Georgia, watch him play UCLA, watch him play in the SEC, and point out a single time where he does not look like a plus athlete on the football field. And I get it. This athletic testing's out there to strip everybody down to equal footing. You're a moving system. You were just seeing raw athleticism, and he did not pass that test. But still, literally go back and watch him play in the SEC and try to pick out where he doesn't look more explosive. He doesn't look faster. He doesn't look like a guy that is thriving, not entirely on athleticism, but it was a big part of his game. And so sometimes the things just don't match up. We're talking day 3 here. I'm okay taking that athletic outlier risk at this point in time, right? And if he hits, if you can get Boutte to play like he did as a freshman, or even towards the end of this past year as a senior, or before he got hurt as a sophomore, like, I can pick out games from every year where he was really darn good. If you get that guy consistently in day 3, you get a real wide receiver. You get a guy who can play outside, who can play in the slot, and can run a route to all 3 levels and get open, as he's kind of shown. So I think in day 3 is when you kind of start to take that athletic swing. And I don't know how many wide receivers in this draft class outside of the round 1 guys can profile as an inside outside wide receiver that can win short, intermediate, and deep. He kind of can, at least he has in college. So maybe that'll translate to the NFL if you can get him to play at his best.
You get a little bit of Terrace Marshall vibes when you watch him, a little bit winning on the vertical plane, maybe had some concentration drops, but was able to translate that speed, really well in the SEC. The question just comes, where did that go? Well, maybe it came from 2 ankle surgeries that he had to have that maybe sapped his athleticism a little bit. That's a guy you bring in for multiple medical checks and try and make sure he's okay. You vet a guy like that, maybe even a day 3 guy. I mean, we saw the Chiefs just do this with Justin Ross, who was a UDFA, but you take a gamble on Kayshon Boutte and you just say, hey, listen, we're redshirting you year 1. Get healthy. We hope you recapture some of that speed, and we're going to put you in more the MVS role, try and work off of that linear plane, try and be more of a vertical threat. Yeah, it makes sense as a day 3 guy. I just wonder if that athleticism is ever going to come back, because it was there. Like, it absolutely was there. This guy, what he tested like at the NFL Combine is not the athlete that he is, certainly, but will he ever be able to recover it? That's the big question.
Let's say he's a red shirt type player. Okay. Mm-hmm. Guess how old he is his first full season in the NFL if he takes a red shirt?
22.
He's still 22. Kayshon Boutte hasn't turned 21 yet. I'm sure he could probably get a drink or 2 in Baton Rouge, but he's not allowed to right now legally. He's turning 21 May 7th, 2002, or in May 7th. He was born May 7th, 2002. So even, the developmental timeline for him, if maybe maybe it's a year 1, kind of red shirt, you're still getting a 22-year-old receiver who would have technically not been 22 on draft day if you took him. Real young guy, maybe he figures it out at the next level.
Thanks for watching this production of KC Sports Network, the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. Check out these videos that feature our team of more than 15 former players, insiders, and analysts, bringing you the best Chiefs coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.